Oh, hey there. Hi, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing just swell. I'm doing just swell. Well, we're going into the fourth quarter, right? And we need things to pick on up. So we're gonna go. We're moving ahead. We're moving ahead with section 3 of the preparing budget unit. All right, section 3 is gonna be charting your own budget. And the exciting thing about this is that lots of charts and graphs that you're going to create. No, I know what you're thinking. You just say, I'm going to create charts and graphs. Mr. Sold, I don't like the graph. I hate graphing. Graph. Oh, I get it. I get it. All right. What I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to do. See, in the real world, people usually don't take paper, like graph paper, and start doing out graphs. It's usually not how it goes. Usually, we put data into a computer, and the computer gives us the graph. That's what I want you to do today. All right, for this lesson, for this whole week. When I ask you to create a graph, I'm going to direct you to a spreadsheet. Now, the way Google Classroom works and Google Forms works and all this thing is, I can't actually attach the spreadsheet. I know this is dumb. I can't actually attach the spreadsheet to the assignment where I assigned this Google form in, because if I do that, Google will not let me import your grades from the Google form. It's just a silly little thing they haven't fixed yet. So what I'm going to have to do is there's two assignments here. There's one assignment, which is the Google form, which you're used to, and then attached to that assignment, not attached to it, sorry, a separate assignment will be the spreadsheet, which you'll all get your own copy of the spreadsheet. First 5 or so pages of the spreadsheet, I've already kind of done the template. I've arranged things. You're really just going to be sticking numbers in the little pieces, the cells of the spreadsheet, and then you're going to make the spreadsheet's going to do the graphing. Don't worry about that. If you do your part on the spreadsheet, the computer will do its magic, right? It'll create the graph, and you won't have to graph these things. Really, you'll be creating a graph, and really this is where the money's at, right? Be able to create graphs using spreadsheets, because businesses collect data. Data is usually in the form of spreadsheets and databases. And then, of course, that information in spreadsheets and databases needs to be communicated. And how do you communicate large sets of data? Graphs and charts and visually representing the data in this way. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Let me walk on down to the study here. Okay. All right. All right. Take a deep breath. Okay. Are you ready for this? Well, you know what? I'm going to start the introduction a little bit in a second. But I think I'm just going to stop this. And this is the unit. This is what we're doing. I will introduce like the learning targets and all that stuff. That's important, right? We're still doing all that. Okay, here we go. Here is our section 3, charting a budget. So this is the third lesson in this unit of preparing a budget. This one's called section 3, charting a budget. You're going to be doing a lot of stuff like this, right? There's going to be a spreadsheet. It's going to look like this. You're going to make the computer turn it into like a column or a bar graph or a bar chart, like this right here, okay? So remember, this is section 3. This is charting the budget, right? I've got a knock at my door. Yes? Sorry for the interruption. Yes, Freya, what do you need?
Can I have some ice cream for dessert?
No.
Why?
No, go away. I'm recording. Beat it. Okay. Sorry about that. That's just the nature of we're recording from home. All right. All right. Okay. So section 3. So put your name on in there where it says your name. Always don't forget. I always put this in here. Don't forget to click submit for this thing for these Google Forms to save. All right. And we got 2 learning targets. 2 learning targets. Remember, this whole Google Form. If you look at it, you say, "Whoa, Mr. Salt, this is a lot." Remember, this is usually like 5 days of classwork. Usually, we would spend a whole week in one of these Google Forms. I think there's like 50 questions in this Google form, and a lot of them they're involved. Okay, so don't worry about it. I would say do like 5 or 10 questions a day. I even have parts in here where I'm going to say take a break. I want you to take a break when you see those, unless you feel like you got super lots of energy to do this. I don't want you to do this all at once. You'll get burnt out. You'll get burnt out trying to do it all at once. Okay, I like to do it. I like to put it all in one form because I like to deal with big concepts and deal with lots of different pieces of a big concept. So anyway, learning target. I can create and use a budget checkoff matrix. You're actually going to create and use more than just a budget checkoff matrix. You're going to use all sorts of electronic matrices and all sorts of stuff like that. But so I have one learning target here. You should be able to say, I can create and use a budget checkoff matrix. All right. And the other thing you should be able to get to by the end of this thing is that I can visualize and interpret a budget using a pie chart, a bar graph, a line graph, and a budget line graph. All right. And we're going to show you how to do this. It's going to be videos, lots of instruction here. Let's talk about our vocabulary. Like, what is a matrix? What is a matrix? Well, you've actually seen a matrix. In fact, I've already shown you a picture of a matrix. You just didn't know it was called a matrix, all right? This right here is a matrix, right? Columns and rows. Columns and rows. When you got data organized in columns and rows, what you got there is a matrix, okay? A budget matrix is an organizer that contains numerical entries or information on when certain account deposits and withdrawals are made over a period of time. All right, that's a budget matrix. A matrix is just a rectangular array of information consisting of rows and columns. What's a row? A row is just all the little, like, okay, let me show you over here. This, let me get the pen out. If the pen will cooperate eventually. Come on, pen. Do you remember how to work? Oh, it's going to forget. Okay. See? You see it flashed? It said, I kind of remember the night. Okay. So this is a row of information. This is a column of information. Right there. Okay, a column. A column of information in green, a row of information circled in red. So this is columns. Columns go up and down. Rows go side to side. All right. There we go. Back to vocabulary. All right. Let's see. We just did rows and columns. Good. An electronic matrix. What is an electronic matrix? It's a spreadsheet. You've played with those every now and again. Google Sheets, Microsoft Excel. You played with that. A budget checkoff matrix. It's a spreadsheet where you're not putting numbers in. You're just there's no amounts. There's just little check marks. Okay. Then there's let's see, the order of a matrix. The order of a matrix is the number of rows or columns in a matrix. The order is reported using the form of row, column, just like we use x, comma, y, right, in our coordinates. A pie chart. You've seen those before. We also know as a circle chart. It looks like a piece of pizza sliced a whole bunch of different ways, right? A line graph is a graph that has an x and y axis, and you've got lines, right? You got straight lines, maybe you got some up and down things. Bar graphs, when you got those bars going, next to each other, right, of different heights. Budget line graph, I will show you what that is. It's a graph used when you have two different categories of expenses, and the line represents all the possible combinations within a certain limitation, all right? Well, you'll see it. It's not that complex. It's really just a line. It's how you interpret it. That's the little tricky thing. A sector. A sector is a piece of a circle, right? So imagine a pizza. If you took one slice out of that pizza, that one slice would be a sector of the whole pizza, right? One slice would be a sector. It's like a piece of a circle. And then central angle. A central angle is the angle formed around the center pie chart by the radii that make the sectors. So, for instance, you have that piece of pizza, right? You can measure the angle from the center of the pizza, measure the angle from the center out towards where the slice is there, and you can measure this angle here, and that measure would be that central angle being measured from that slice. All right, we got some Common Core standards here, and you can do those on your own. I'm just trying to give you an example of kind of what you're going to expect to see. We're not going to get quite this involved, but this is a spreadsheet, as you can see. There are rows and columns, and then you can do all sorts of funny things with the formatting of these. You can create little borders, and you can create like highlighted areas of color, and this just helps people. When people create a budget spreadsheet, what they're trying to do is they're trying to use an electronic matrix, like a spreadsheet, to visualize where their money is going in and out, right? And this can be really helpful in real life when you really want to be able to pay all your bills and make sure you got enough money to take care of you. All right, so this is kind of a real world skill of creating some kind of budget. Now, some people go this complex. Some people don't go this complex. I recommend having at least a month-to-month kind of budget in mind. You have an idea of how much money you got coming in each month, and then how much money you got going out each month. If you happen to have like a checking account, if your checking account gets bigger every month, then that means you're having some savings. If that checking account is getting smaller every month, that means you're having some losses, and you need to work on increasing those expenses or increasing the income, one or the other, or both at the same time. All right, so I think that's where I'm going to leave this because no, I'm going to leave you to read this. There's some charting and budget stuff. I've already explained what matrices are. Yeah, so if you have one matrix, it's called a matrix. If you have multiple matrices, you call them matrices. It's just a little bit of funny English, how that works. All right, charting a budget. Okay, I've explained all these, and we are right in the learning targets. So step one, you're gonna put the learning targets here, and in the next video, I'm gonna start with example one. All right, we're back, and we're ready to do example one. All right, example one, creating a year-long budget checkoff matrix. So here's the situation. What if you were tasked with create a year-long budget checkoff matrix that keeps track of the following household expenses and when they are due. All right, so I just want to go over, I know I just went over the vocab in the last video, but a matrix. What's a matrix? A matrix is like an organization of information in columns and rows. So here you see some columns going up and down. You see some rows going side to side. So this is a matrix. This is a visualization of a budget. This is called a checkoff matrix because there are no numbers. There are just little check marks, okay? And let's kind of see how this works. Mortgage is paid monthly. If you pay rent or mortgage, usually this kind of expense is paid monthly. Utilities, your electric, your gas, all the stuff we did in section 1 of this unit, those are usually paid monthly. Sanitation, quarterly. Now, if you live in the city, you probably don't pay anything for sanitation, but if you live other places, sometimes you got to pay for a garbage man to come pick up your garbage. So sometimes that's paid quarterly, sometimes it's semi-annually. In this case, we're going to consider sanitation paid quarterly. What's quarterly mean? It means, what does quarter mean? How many quarters are in a dollar, right? There are 4 quarters in a dollar. Quarterly means 4 times every year. Quarterly, every quarter of a year. What does that mean? What's 12? There's 12 months in a year, right? 12 divided by 4, there are quarterly, there's 4 quarters in a dollar. 12 divided by 4 is 3. That means if you're paying quarterly, you're paying every 3 months. All right, every 3 months, you're paying for sanitation. Insurance semi-annually. Semi-annually means every half year. All right, I know that can be kind of confusing for some people, but so semi-annually is every 6 months. So there's 12 months in a year. Half a year is 6 months. Semi-annually pays. It means you're going to pay twice a year. Twice a year. Internet semi-annually. I don't pay my internet semi-annually. I pay that monthly. But okay. Internet semi-annually means twice a year. Twice a year paid in the internet. Telephone landline. Not too many people have those anymore, but monthly. Cellular telephone monthly. Yep. Lawn and garden monthly. But only through September, April through September, right? Only you don't need to pay anyone to mow your lawn at any other time in December, right? Snow removal, though, you guys got to pay. Some people have snow removal. I wish I had that. And it looks like the snow removal place that this person is hiring only charges on November, January, and March, so 3 times during the snowy months. And food is a monthly expense, a daily expense, but maybe you count it totally as a monthly expense. And then childcare every other month, beginning with February. So that's an interesting childcare arrangement, but okay, we'll go with it. And vet services expenses semi-annually. To a certain extent, right, this is an artificial construction. Not all these are realistic. I want you to understand what semi-annually is versus like biannually or bi-monthly. I want you to get these ideas in your head. So let's go back to mortgage. Mortgage is monthly. Which what that means we need a little check every month. Every month we pay our mortgage, which means we need a little check for every month because it's monthly. Utilities are paid monthly, which means I need a little check mark for every. This is easy, right? Monthly, you just mark for every month, right? Now it gets a little bit interesting when we do sanitation. Sanitation, quarterly. Remember what we said about sanitation? Quarterly means every 3 months, right? Because there are 12 months in a year. 12 divided by 4, quarterly is 4 quarters in a dollar. 12 divided by 4 is 3, so every 3 months. So paid in March, 1, paid in March, 1, 2, 3, paid in June, 1, 2, 3, paid in September, 1, 2, 3, paid again in December. Every 3 months, you're paying your sanitation bill. Insurance was semi-annually. So what does that mean? That means every 6 months, every half year. So every 6 months, so in June and December, there are 6 months in between the 2 times you pay this semi-annual payment. And you kind of see where this is going, right? It is helping you visualize when you got to pay what bill. And so if you created one of these for yourself, you would never forget to pay your insurance, your health insurance bill or your sanitation bill. Just the other day, I forgot to pay my sanitation bill. I owed $9 on the thing, and they didn't pick up my garbage for 2 weeks. And I was like, "What gives?" But then I found out that I owed them $9, and I reconciled that bill and paid up for the rest of the year. And so now I won't have to worry about it for a while. But I forgot because I should probably just put a note in my my Google Calendar or something to remind me to pay this thing every so often. But it happens. It happens. Lawn and garden. Remember, lawn and garden was only from April to September. There's a little check mark during this. You don't need check marks here because it's snowy at this time. You don't need someone mowing your lawn when there's snow on the ground. But you do need snow removal sometimes during the snowy months. So here in November, January, and March, this person is paying for snow removal, and it looks like they're paying every other month, only during the winter month. Food is a monthly expense. We have to have check marks everywhere. Childcare looks like they have an every other month type of arrangement, and that every other month kind of arrangement they called that every other month. Okay, and then we got vet expenses. Vet expenses semi-annually. I'm not sure how you have vet expenses. Oh yeah, maybe if you're taking your pet or dog in twice a year to the vet, I suppose you can have regular checkups that are twice a year. All right, so this is really not that difficult, I don't think. This is just a helpful matrix to help you visualize when bills are due. And then when setting up a budget, it's important to understand the meaning of the terms used in example 1, like monthly, quarterly, semi-annually. And then I want you to kind of look up these 2 things. I'm not going to do it for you. I want you to look up what semi-monthly would mean versus bi-monthly. And I want you to explain to me the difference between bi-monthly and semi-monthly. All right, so I want you to go on Google. I want you to look this up and just try to explain this. I feel like I could explain it to you, but it'd be better if you had to kind of puzzle this through, on your own. I think that'll be more productive. And here we have a pie chart, the chart we all know and love, right? This is our pizza chart. This is our circle chart. And remember, I was telling you about how there is a sector of this like slice of the pizza in blue is the sector of this pie chart, and then this angle here is the central angle we were talking about, and then every line from the center to the edge of this circle is called a radius, right? Each one is a radius. When we speak of plural of radius, we speak of the term radii. So if I'm talking about this line, this line segment, this line segment, this line segment, I talk about 3 radii, all right, because it's plural. One of those interesting little things you wouldn't expect unless you just know. All right, so example 2 is going to have us looking at a pie chart. And a pie chart is great when looking at percentages. A pie chart is often helpful when we're trying to compare percentages. It helps us visualize. Again, a matrix helps us visualize when the bills are due. A circle chart here, a pie chart, will help us visualize percentages. So Jeff budgeted his monthly expenses as follows. He has 40% of his monthly budget is from household expenses. 25% of his monthly budget is education expenses. 15% of his expenses is transportation. 5% for health. 10% for savings. And 5% for miscellaneous. He then uses a software program like you're going to use, Google Sheets, Excel, to construct this pie chart. So he didn't have to do this by hand. He plugged this information into a matrix, and the computer did the circle chart. Isn't that nice of the computer to be able to do that for us? And here's kind of how it looks. Here's how it looks to create one of these on a spreadsheet, which you're going to do. All right? In fact, let me see if I can show you what this is going to look like. Do I have you do one of these? I'm trying to think. I don't know if I have you do a pie chart. Let me just let you preview what you have in store for you here. Let me go to sheet 1. There we are. There's sheet 1. going to have you preview. So here's sheet 1, and this is where you're going to create a checkoff budget matrix. So you're each going to get a copy of this spreadsheet here. It's going to be separate from the actual Google form. So you'll have to look for it. You're looking for budget matrix for section 3, starting a budget lesson. And you're going to, based on the information you have in question I'm going to ask, I'm going to give you the information to do. You're going to put this check mark. You're going to copy the check mark and put it where it belongs. For instance, mortgage, I'm betting, is going to be every month. You're going to paste this thing every month because mortgage is a monthly payment, right? Piece of cake, right? You see how quickly I did that? You just that's it. You're creating a budget matrix, a checkoff budget matrix, right? That's sheet 1. Let's go to sheet 2. I'm just previewing what you're going to see here. I'm going to have you create a budget matrix. Now you haven't seen one of these yet. So maybe I should go back. I'm kind of got to wrestle with the idea of whether it's best for you to introduce this idea, see these things ahead of time, or wait until I've explained it first. I'm going to do a quick review of what you're going to see, and if that's what I'm about to show you is confusing, don't worry, I'm going to explain it later. I just want you to be introduced to what you're going to see. Sorry about that clock. It's going to ring every 15 minutes. All right. I thought it'd be this great idea to have a grandfather clock in my study so it would help me be aware of time. And I have good thoughts about grandfather clocks. When I was at my grandparents' back in the day, they had one of these clocks that would ding, and it kind of gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling. But I don't know if I like the every 15 minutes thing. I think I might go to the hour thing to figure out how to change the clock. Okay, so here's sheet 3. Sheet 3, you're going to create a pie chart in sheet 3, right? You're going to create categories. You're going to put the cost, and then you're going to calculate the percentages. And once you calculate the percentages and have them next to the categories, you're going to be able to create a, let's see, we're going to insert a chart. You'll click on Insert Chart, and Google Sheets will eventually think about showing me a list of options. Eventually, someday, waiting for Google. There, thanks, Google. You'll go over here. Once you, of course, right, there's no, right, it's telling me no data. Why is it telling me no data? Because I haven't put any data in, silly. So you'll need to put data in here, and then you'll go in here and pick the chart you want, and you'll pick for this one, for instance, pie chart. And once it has data, it will actually put this pie chart in there for you. But you've got to do that work. So that's what you're going to do on this one. And notice I'm creating like a little scaffold. I'm creating a little template here where it kind of it's kind of obvious where you're supposed to put the information for. I'm going to have you create a bar chart on this sheet. I want you to put the information here in this column. In fact, let me highlight this column so it'll be a little bit even more obvious maybe of where you're supposed to put that information, right? And then you're going to put this information here and right over here, and then you create a bar chart over here using the computer. It'll be really easy once you get the information in. Sorry about my little cough. And then starting with sheet 5, I'm going to have you start organizing some of this information because it actually takes a little bit of brain work to figure out how am I going to use columns and rows to represent this information in a way that makes sense. And that takes a little bit of thinking. I want you to do that thinking so that you're used to it, right? Because it does take a little bit of adjustment. I have to even think a little bit slower when I'm doing this kind of thing because you just gotta, how is the best way to do it? And that practice of organizing this information in your own mind will help you be a better thinker in the long run. And that's what I'm shooting for. All right, this little picture, this little image here gives you an idea of how to set this matrix up. And then you're going to create some other charts here, probably some circle charts based on the information you've got. And what else do we have for you? All right, and I probably have a plan for sheet 8, but I haven't gotten that far. So back to our circle. All right, once Google decides that we are allowed to look at it again. Okay, looks like I'm able to move this around now. I want it to be a little bit bigger. Okay, so Jeff, he put these categories in his software program. He found the percentages. So right, he knew what the percentages. Oh, did he know the percentages already? He used a software program to construct the pie chart to show his expense percentages. How did his category percentages affect the construction of his chart. So they're trying. That's what this is I want you to understand how a percentage relates to a pie chart. Okay. So notice this one here. Let's look at household 40%. How did the computer know that 40% of this pie chart would be this size slice of pizza pie, right? The question is, how does 40% translate to a circle? Well, we measure circles oftentimes in degrees. Oftentimes in degrees. And we call, ever heard of someone doing a 360? 360? Oh gosh. Yes, thanks. Thank you, computer. A 360. Well, 360 means they do a complete turnaround, right? For someone to completely turn around, it's to spin around 360 is to do a complete revolution. We measure circles in terms of 360 degrees. And I don't know if you can imagine this, but if I divided this circle up into 360 little slices, and you notice how small the slices have to be in order for me to do this. If I was to have 360 of these slices all over, each one of those would be 1 degree, right? Each one of those would be 1 degree if a circle is composed of 360 degrees. So let me show you the math of what's going on here. The computer said, oh, okay, your household expenses is 40%. It's 40%. Well, that means I can convert 40%. I can convert 40% because 40% means what? It means 40 out of 100. Because how many cents are there in a dollar? There's 100 cents in a dollar, right? So percent means per 100, per 60, or per scene, right? So 40 over 100. And when you put 40 over 100 in your calculator, you get a number. That number is 0.4. 0.4. All right? That's what this number here comes in here. The computer automatically knew that 40% converts to a decimal out of 1 to be represented as 0.4. 0.4. And then the computer took this number here, this 0.4, multiplied it by 360, and got 144. And guess what? This central angle here is 144 degrees. If you divided the whole circle up into 360, and you found out what's 40% of 360, well, 40% of multiply 360 is 144, right? So that's why I know this is 144 degrees. Similarly with education, it's 25%. 25% is 25 over 100, expressed as a decimal out of 1, right? And 25 over 100 is the same thing as 0.25. All right, 0.25. That's a decimal out of 1. So if I now multiply 0.25 times 360, which is all the degrees in the circle, I get 90. 25%, or 1/4 of 360 is 90 degrees. So that means I know now that this here is 90 degrees. And do you notice how that looks like a nice and square piece of a square right there, or a rectangle? Well, that's because it's 90 degrees. That angle measure there is 90 for those geometry enthusiasts out there. All right. So I think we can move on. That same process just keeps happening, right? Here's the category transportation. It's 15%. 15 divided by 100 is 0.15 times 360 gives 54. And then when you add all these angles up, they should all equal 360, because if these percentages all equal up to be 100%. So the trick of this is that all your percentages have to equal 100% in order for all your angle measures to equal 360. All right, I think we'll move on here. So next practice question has Jahalise budgets 40% of her monthly income for rent. Express the measure of the central angle for a pie chart sector that represents Jahalise's rent budget. So we actually already did something like this. I'm going to have you pause the video and answer the question. So you're pausing and you're answering on your own. Great, you've unpaused the video. So we actually talked about this. I might have to change this here. I might have to. Oh yeah, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it on you. 20%. No. We need more than that. If rent's only 20% of your budget, you're doing real good. We're gonna call it 50%. All right, 50%. Does that make it too easy though? No, it doesn't make it too easy. I like it. Okay, we're gonna change it to 50%. Why? That makes it perfectly. I do want it to be easy because the next question is harder, right? The next question is more challenging. So the question is, how do I convert 50%, 50% into a decimal out of 1? Remember, I need to convert it into a decimal out of 1. Remember, it's 50 over 100. If I put 50 over 100 into my calculator, I get a number called 0.5. 0.5. Notice that you have this 50% here. What I'm really doing is I'm moving, if there's a decimal place here, I'm moving that decimal over 2 places to get to 0.5. Or I'm sorry, yeah, 0.5. There's a 0 here, 0.5, 0.5. I'm using disappearing ink here. I thought that would be really cool, but disappearing a little faster than I'd like. All right, so how do I represent this 0.05 in terms of a circle? Well, remember, there are 360 degrees in a circle, and we want to multiply. I almost did the thing I don't like to do, which is use I can't erase. Disappearing ink, it has to erase on its own. Well, that's disappointing. Okay, 300, I'm going to start over. 360, I'm going to multiply by 0.5. When I put that in my calculator, you can pause and put that in your calculator if you choose. All right, you've unpaused. Well, the answer is 180. Why? Because 0.5 is like dividing by 2. 0.5 times 360 is 180. So how to represent this is 180 degrees, right? If I have a full circle, if this is 360 degrees, the full circle, half of that circle, 50%, cut this. If I'm just talking about 50% of the circle angle, I'm talking about 50% of this. 50% of 360 is half of 360. Half of 360 is 180. Alrighty. Interesting. All right, so now I'm going to ask you to do that other hard thing. I'm going to ask you to do the other hard thing, which is express algebraically. I know you guys hate this, and I keep at it, because if you can express it algebraically, dang it, you can do it for any number whatsoever. If your brain power can let you do this, you can do anything. And I want you to be able to do anything. Okay? So it's not too hard. It's not too hard. Let's think about this. We have x. X represents a number. We don't know what it is, but it's a percentage. X percent. All right? How did we go? How did we figure this out? How did we do this last problem, basically? Well, what we did was we took x. Whoops, I don't like how I did that. X percent. We divided by what? We divided by 100. Just like we took 50 divided by 100 or 40 divided by 100. We divided by 100. And then what did we do? We multiplied that by 360. So this is what it is expressed algebraically. X over 100 multiplied by 360 will express algebraically the measure of a central angle for a pie chart that represents her budget. So you could plug any old number in for x, and this expression here will calculate that central angle. That's why I have you express this stuff algebraically, because then any number, you've got it. If you know the form of the math, if you understand the form of the math, you can roll with it. Example 3. Should I do example 3 or should I shut it off here? I feel like I got energy, so I'm just gonna keep going. Usually I like to do 2 of these, but let me go for a third one. Let's go for a third one before we take a break. Kate and Paul budget $800 per month for transportation as shown in the pie chart. So this, where is transportation? Transportation. I see. The whole thing is transportation. The whole thing is transportation. Transportation budget, the whole thing is going to equal 800 buckaroos. All right. What information can we conclude from the pie chart? Without a protractor to measure the central angles, it is impossible to determine the exact amounts budgeted for each category. However, The following useful information can still be seen in the chart. We can still, even though we don't know exactly the percentages here, we can say that Kate and Paul spend the majority of their transportation budget on fuel. That's the biggest slice of this pizza pie. We can see that repairs and parking together seem to be about the same. So now, whatever this percentage is, repairs and insurance seem to have about the same angle here. This angle seems to be about the same as that angle there, approximately about the same. Public transportation seems to costs account for about the second highest budgeted amount. So train and bus is certainly smaller than fuel. It is the second biggest piece of this, all right? And then what else we have? And we can also determine they spend the least amount per month on car washes. So car washes is the smallest sector. And the amount budgeted for repairs appears to be about half the amount for fuel costs. I don't know how they quite figure that out, but it's roughly the case, right? Isn't this about 2 of these repair things, slices, would be about equal to fuel, right? And miscellaneous appears to be about half of that budgeted for public transportation. So let's see, miscellaneous. Do you think you could fit 2 miscellaneouses in train and bus? Yeah, I think you could. So all that's true. We can kind of, even without percentages, which I prefer to have percentages here, even without those, we can kind of figure a lot out. I'm afraid this is the time where it's going to ring 6 times because it's 6 p.m. Look at that. You always know, what time it is when I make these videos. Isn't that swell? All right. Take a breather. Take a stretch. You're doing good. You're doing good. I'm doing good. We're both doing great. All of us. It's going to ring. It's going to keep ringing. I don't want to talk over it too much, so okay, it's over. Good. At least it's not 10 o'clock, right? Based on the information above and knowing the central angle for fuel sector is 90 degrees, what information can be determined? All right, so based on this information above, they're saying all right, they're trying to tell us, that what if you knew for sure that the fuel here was 90 degrees? What if we knew that this angle here was 90 degrees? Okay. Well, given the information we have here, if we know that the fuel is 90, let's figure out what else we can figure out. If fuel is 90, okay, then this still nothing really happens here. They spend the majority on fuel. All right, we know that insurance and repairs are the same, so I'm going to put one little hash mark in for each of these because these are about the same. Public transportation is the second highest budget amount. Okay, I'm going to put 2 of these in here. 2 arc marks mean this is a different angle measure. Spend the least amount on car washes. That's fine. The amount budgeted for repairs appears to be at half the amount for fuel. So repairs is about half of what they do for fuel. Well, all right, here's my first thing I can figure out. If repairs is half of fuel and fuel is 90 degrees, what's half of 90? Work those calculators out. What's 90 divided by 2? 90 divided by 2. You broke out your calculator and you found that it's 45, right? 45. Well, didn't they tell us that repairs and insurance are about the same? I forget where they told us that, but I believe I remember reading that. Repairs and insurance. No, where is that? Did I make that up in my head? I'm trying to figure out where I remember reading that. Oh, repairs and parking. Repairs and parking are the same. All right, let's get my pen marks back. So if this is 90, geez, I don't like that it made all that go away. If this is 90 and this is 45, then parking has got to be 45. All right. Okay, what else can I figure out? They spend the least amount on car washes. Okay. They amount budget for repairs, about half the amount budget for fuel costs. Got that. What else am I missing? Miscellaneous expenses, about half of budget information. All right, well then that's what we got. We know, from what we know, we can tell that fuel is 90, repairs are 45, parking is 45. I think that's all we can do. And that's what you could write. You know? Whoop. Oh, yeah, didn't we know also that this was how much money? The whole thing was $800, right? Remember that? $800? We can circle that in case you don't remember. Right? Oh, okay. Well, this puts a whole new spin on things. Let's go back and look. Let's put that $800 back over here. Where's my $800 again? All right, I'm going to write 800 3 times. 800. Actually, I shouldn't write it 3 times with disappearing ink. Okay, disappearing ink, you've got to go. You're kind of cool, but I need you to stick around for a little bit longer than 20 seconds. All right, so the whole budget is $800, and I wrote $800 3 times for a reason that you'll see in a moment. And what do I know? I know that fuel is 90 degrees because they told me it was 90 degrees. All right, here. That's where they told me that fuel is 90. And they also told me that repairs and parking, repairs and parking were both half of fuel. All right, repairs is 45 degrees then. Remember we said that? Because 90 divided by 2 is 45, which means parking is also 45. And what they want us to kind of figure out is like, you know, if the total budget is 800, and we know that fuel is 90 degrees of our pie chart, could we figure out how much money they're spending on fuel? I'm going to say, you know what? Pause here and think about that question. If I know the total budget is $800 and that fuel is 90 degrees out of a circle, how can I find out how much money is being spent on fuel? Pause the video here, think on it, and come back. All right? I want you to think on it. You're gonna learn so much more if you actually try to strain your brain and figure this out. Okay? Pause. We'll come back. Great. You've paused it. You've come back. Well, what I wanted you to realize is that 90 divided by 360 is what? Your calculators? Alexa, what's 90 divided by 360?
90 divided by 360 is 0.25.
0.25. All right. If we take our 800 here and we multiply it by 0.25, well, what will we get? Alexa, what's 800 times 0.25?
800 times 0.25 is 200.
$200. All right. And repairs. Repairs are 45 degrees. So what are we going to do? If you don't know, pause the video and think it out. Now that you've seen how fuel is done, can you do repairs and parking on your own? Try it on your own. Pause the video. All right. You know what? I'm not going to go over it because I think if you've got the 90 degrees, the 45 is pretty easy. I'll give you a little hint. You're going to do 45 divided by 360, and that's all I'm going to give you. You're going to figure out this. You're going to figure out what that number is. You're going to plug that number over here, and you're going to find out stuff. Okay? Can't give away all the answers. I need you to activate your mind, get your brain thinking. All right. I am going to pause this thing here. Thanks for being such swell sports. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for doing this. I'll come up with another video with the other examples, and we'll get through this. And keep in mind, the Google form is like 5 days of usually, I plan these to be 5 days of classroom instruction. And with distance learning, this might be 6, 7, 8 days. You know what I mean? This might take a little longer for you to get through it on your own because it's a little harder to focus when you've got to like self-regulate, all the distractions you might have going on at your place. If you think 7-year-olds asking for ice cream isn't distracting, I don't know what is. Okay? You hear me? You feel me? All right. See you next time.